Welcome to Spooky News for April 3rd, 2020. This is another of the coronavirus lockdown editions of Spooky News. Not a ton of news in terms of new movies coming out or being made at the moment, but there's a lot of news anyway, so let's get to it. Just a reminder, Spooky News and pretty much all of Spooky Ventures, especially the Spooky Ventures YouTube channel, are supposed to be interactive. So, like our videos, share our videos, subscribe, interact, leave us some comments. What would you like to see covered? If you've got a news item you want to share, send it to us. Keep it spooky at spookyventures.com. But by all means, interact. Hey, if you think you do some spooky stuff and want to get interviewed, let us know. We'll be glad to do an interview. Do you believe in ghosts? Well, I always say when I'm asked that question or something like it about one of my books of true ghost stories or legends, whatever you want to call them, that it doesn't really matter if you believe in them or not. It's just a fun story. Well, there's a new article that has compiled a bunch of stories of supposed hotel ghosts and hotel hauntings. So it's a pretty creepy list of stories and a good bit of reading, to share some good stuff. So I figure a lot of people have a lot of time right now. Have a look at the article. It's got some good stuff there. If you want some good retro-tinged horror rock, there's an article that might point you in the right direction. There's a band called Emmy, Lazarus, and the recently deceased. Now, I intend to check out more about this band, and you probably will be interested in doing that too. Have a look at the article I'm sharing. It's from the Lantern, and they say they describe it as sort of if the Addams Family and Munsters had a house band. Now that sounds like a fun time as far as I'm concerned. Apparently everything's sort of macabre and, horror based, but with a real retro sound, so sounds like it could be a good time. Well, if you've been enjoying your free 30 days of Shudder that they offered, if you're not, if you don't know about that, be sure to check out Spooky News from 2 weeks ago, which would have been the 16th of March, or not the 16th, I'm sorry, the 20th of March. Be sure to check that one out. I believe that was the one where I announced they have a free 30-day trial. In any event, but if you've been enjoying it, there's a new article at Consequence of Sound that lists all of the new stuff, or a lot of the new stuff anyway, coming to Shudder for April. So good list to have a look at so you can stream some stuff. Do you play the game Animal Crossing? No, I've not even actually seen it. Not much of a video gamer. Mostly for me, it's PC video games. But apparently in the game you can create all kinds of stuff and fully customize things. And apparently some users have been recreating scenes from different horror movies, including The Shining and Midsummer. If you've got the game, I think this probably tells you where you can see this stuff. And maybe it will give you some ideas on some customization you want to do to create some of your favorite horror movie scenes. But have a look at the article. I found it interesting, even though I don't really understand the game. So if you're into that game, you probably will like it even more. I don't know if this is a case of hitting too close to home or being too much like reality, or if it's just about perfect. But film.com or /film.com has a new list of horror movies about pandemics and quarantines that you can stream right now. So if you're interested in seeing a movie about perhaps how things could be even worse than they are now, I'm not saying things are miserably bad, but this is, not the best I've seen them in my life. Be sure to check out the list and maybe stream a movie. Obviously, things go a lot worse in those movies, I'm sure, than they do, and they're going to go, I hope, in real life. Do you collect Funko Pops? Did you see the video we did about the Pennywise Meltdown Funko Pop? If not, you should check that out. I'll include a link here. But in the meantime, there's a cool article about 10 horror Funko Pops that should be made that they haven't. And it's just a lot of fun. If you like doing that, I particularly like the tall man in there. That would be great. From Phantasm. That's just a classic character in my book. But yeah, have a look at the list. Pretty cool stuff. Maybe they'll come out with some of these. So, an interesting bit of, I don't know, coincidence, I guess, or synchronicity, there's a new movie out called Vivarium, and it was supposed to be released in theaters, but that got canceled because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, the interesting thing is they've released it online. The weird part is the movie is literally about a couple trapped inside their home, which kind of is very fitting given what's going on. I'm not sure where you can stream it. I looked through the article, I didn't see that. I'm wondering if it's on just general streaming things. I'll look and see before this actually gets published. If I find it's a specific place you have to stream it, I'll include that information. If you can do it various places, I'll put that as a caption at the top of this video clip or above or over this video clip so you can see that. But in any event, it sounds like a pretty interesting horror film that kind of lines up pretty well with the world of the moment, A lot of celebrities have been doing coronavirus pandemic quarantine videos. Bruce Campbell sort of seems to channel Ash in his little PSA kind of thing, and it's generally a lot of fun. It's not footage of him, it's actually an emoji video cartoon thing, but it's certainly gives you the vibe of Bruce Campbell and Ash. So, I mean, come on, a lot of those movies were pretty over-the-top campy, and particularly the TV series Ash versus the Evil Dead was. So, be sure to check that out. Do you guys like the movie E.T.? Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I know it's not horror, but trust me, this is a horror connection here. Apparently, the movie originally was going to be a horror movie called Night Skies, which was going to be, I don't know, it was going to be based on an incident where a family was supposedly terrorized by aliens. And eventually, even though Rick Baker was in the process of designing the creatures and, these terrifying alien creatures, during the process, Spielberg decided that he didn't want to go with the dark horror aspect of the movie and instead turned it into what we know as E.T. Personally, I'm not a big fan of E.T. I know a lot of people think it's just great, but I would have loved to have seen what it would have been like as a horror movie. It might have been pretty cool. Who knows, maybe Night Skies will get revisited at some point and we'll get the original version idea. That would be kind of cool. If you were counting on the new Morbius movie based on Marvel Comics' living vampire character, or the new Ghostbusters, and trust me, I was counting on both of those movies, you're going to have a wait. Because of the pandemic, Sony has pretty much delayed all their 2020 movies to 2021. So, rather than coming out in a few months, they're coming out in next year, so I guess we got time to wait. Sometimes I think werewolves don't get a fair shake in the whole thing of horror movies. It's like they don't quite get the respect they deserve. There's a new list from Screen Rant called 10 Best Werewolf Horror Movies, according to Internet Movie Database. Now, one quibble I have with this, it seems there are only 9 movies on the list, but there's some good movies on the list. You know, you've got Curse of the Werewolf, and The Howling, of course, and The Company of Wolves. Ginger Snaps, which I've heard the title of that movie but never knew it was a werewolf movie. So I'm going to have to check that one out. Of course, you got the original Wolfman and American Werewolf in London. Come on. You've got to have American Werewolf in London. But I didn't name off all the movies in the list. But again, you know, I love lists. You guys know that if you watch enough of these. But it's a cool list. I don't know why they say there are 10 when there are only 9, but by all means, check out the list. Well, due to the current pandemic, there are no movies opening today, but there are a couple birthdays tomorrow. Saturday is Anthony Perkins' birthday. You might probably know him as Norman Bates from Psycho. And interestingly enough, the following day, Sunday, is Robert Bloch's birthday, and he was the one who wrote the book Psycho. He was also one of Lovecraft's circle. So happy birthday to those gentlemen in posthumously. And that's a wrap for this edition of Spooky News. Be sure to tune in next week for more. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.